Welcome to Voices Made Heard. My name is Dania K. My group's subtopic is inner fear, but I speak about Islamophobia specifically because I think it is such an important topic that should be viewed. Now, this is a poetry project assigned to students in grades 9, 10, and 11 in Jeddah Private School. Our main goal is to put important topics under the spotlight. As William Wordsworth states, poetry is the spontaneous overflow of powerful feelings. It takes its origin from emotion recollected in tranquility. Now, I would like to begin my presentation. My first challenge was to identify a humorous poem and mimic it myself. A poem that I really liked was Messy Room by Shel. His underwear is hanging on the lamp, his raincoat is there in the overstuffed chair, and the chair is becoming quite mucky and damp. His workbook is wedged in the window, his sweater's been thrown on the floor. His scarf and one ski are beneath the TV, and his pants have been carelessly hung on the door. His books are all jammed in the closet. His vest has been left in the hall. A lizard named Ed is asleep in his bed, and his smelly old sock has been stuck to the wall. Whosever room this is should be ashamed. Donald or Robert or Willie or... Huh? You say it's mine? Oh dear, I knew it looked familiar. Messy Room is a poem by Shel Silverstein, who is a songwriter, cartoonist, screenwriter, award-winning children's writer, and actor. Silverstein's works were generally humorous. He merges imagination and silliness to target children, but his work is also enjoyed by adults, states poets.org. At the poem's beginning, the speaker starts to shame whoever the room belongs to. Then he describes in what state the room is in, with a disgusted tone and manner, to create imagery for the reader. For instance, he says his workbook is wedged in the window, in line 5, which not only allows the reader to visualize such a state, but also creates attention-grabbing device of alliteration. The writer uses words such as lamp and damp, hall and wall, to create a rhyme scheme that adds to the poem's overall rhythm. Another noticeable aspect of the poem is the repetition in words such as whosever room this is should be ashamed, in lines 1 and 13. Towards the end of the poem, the writer questions who this room belongs to, but to his surprise, it turns out that it belongs to him, and that's why it looked familiar, in line 16. Alongside creating irony, it is humorous how ridiculous he is to have forgotten his own room. The tone now completely changes from disgust to shame. Personally, I believe that there are 3 important themes presented. First, the poem shows the hypocrisy in most people. Second, it teaches not to judge others until you take a look at yourself. Lastly, it emphasizes how we do not see the truth at first sight, because things that matter perhaps worthy of a deeper look. Moving on to the next challenge, which is emo poetry. I decided to choose Richard Cory by Edwin Arlington Robinson. Whenever Richard Cory went downtown, we people on the pavement looked at him. He was a gentleman from sole to crown, clean-favored and imperially slim. And he was always quietly arrayed, and he was always human when he talked, but still he fluttered pulses when he said, "Good morning," and he glittered when he walked. And he was rich, yes, richer than a king, and admirably schooled in every grace. In fine, we thought that he was everything, to make us wish that we were in his place. So on we worked and waited for the light, and went without the meat and cursed the bread. And Richard Cory, one calm summer night, went home and put a bullet through his head. Richard Cory, a short poem by dark poet Edwin Arlington Robinson, about a man whose appearances deceived others. The character seems to be the perfect man to all the townsmen who wish to be him, or all the townswomen who wish to be with him. However, the character ends up shooting himself, which indicates once again that appearances do not always match reality. Robinson claims that he had a stark and unhappy life. His brothers died young, and his family experienced financial failures, according to poets.org, which could explain why he mostly indulges in writing sad, tragic poems such as this one. The poem has a rhyme scheme of AB, AB, CD, CD, EF, EF, etc. throughout all four of its four stanzas. The rhyme creates a fixed rhythm and clear rhyme. For instance, the usage of town with crown and him with slim in the first stanza. The speaker is mentioned as we at the beginning of the poem, which sets a boundary between the speaker and Richard Cory. We later understand that the we also refers to the different classes in town, which explains why the townspeople envy him, while admiring his every move. In the first three stanzas, the speaker describes the character, from the way he looks to the way he talks, thus creating interesting imagery for the reader. For example, Robinson says he was clean-favored and imperially slim, in line 4. Or when he says, and he was rich, yes, richer than a king, in line 9. Moreover, there is an aphora using the and he was always repetition in lines 5 and 6, which implies to the readers that the speaker admires Richard so much that he can continually list many aspects about him. Another noticeable aspect of the poem is the use of alliteration. We people on the pavement, in line 2, to make us wish we were, in line 12, and so on we worked and waited, in line 13, that serve as interesting and attention-grabbing sound devices. Also, at the end of the poem, there is a significant and ironic shift when Richard Cory one day decides to put a bullet through his head, in line 16, and kill himself. Robinson uses this incredible twist to shock the reader, so this theme is well understood and always remembered. The theme is to be thankful for what you have instead of being envious of others, since appearances tend to be deceiving. The poem confirms that even the filthy rich have problems and money cannot buy happiness. And now, please allow me to read to you The Breakdown of a Muslim by Dania K. Whenever Ahmed Muhammad went downtown, we on the pavement were scared stiff of him. He was a proud Muslim, dressed simply all year round, with beard grown out, nothing like Jack, John, or Jim. And he was always quiet, never brash or loud, and he was always steady and solemn when he spoke. Perhaps he knew he threatened pulses when he said, "Assalamu alaikum." He hoped to have a good talk rather than provoke. And he was poor, yes, a statistic more likely to commit a crime. We never knew he was well schooled. Suppose that's our disgrace. In point, we thought that he was not worth a dime. We knew we'd never wish to be someone in his place. So on we rejected and waited for the towel-head Arab to move out of here, and went without a smile and cursed his race and religion, and Ahmed Muhammad every day throughout the year went home and asked God if they would ever see his deen with right adjusted vision. In my response, my poem, The Breakdown of a Muslim, explores the situations that Muslims from all around the world face nowadays, from being verbally abused, bullied, or facing segregation and inequality. Any Muslim's heart holds the fear that he or she would be treated differently because of their religion. I managed to include a 4-line stanza with an AB rhyme scheme. For instance, I said town and round, and him and Jim in both lines 1 through 4 and throughout. Besides that, I included alliteration. We people on the pavement in line 2, imagery with beard grown out in line 4, and anaphora in my repetition of and he was always lines 5 and 6. These are all elements similar to the ones in the poem Richard Cory. On to the third challenge, which is slam poetry. I decided to choose Still I Rise by Maya Angelou. You may write me down in history with your bitter, twisted lies. You may trod me in the very dirt, but still, like dust, I'll rise. Does my sassiness upset you? Why are you beset with gloom? 'Cause I walk like I've got oil wells pumping in my living room? Just like moons and like the suns, with the certainty of tides, just like hopes springing high, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me broken, bowed head and lowered eyes, shoulders failing down like teardrops, weakened by my soulful cries? Does my haughtiness offend you? Don't you take it awful hard, 'cause I laugh like I've got old mines digging in my own backyard. You may shoot me with your words. You may cut me with your eyes. You may kill me with your hatefulness. But still, like air, I'll rise. Does my sexiness upset you? Does it come as a surprise that I dance like I've got diamonds at the meeting of my thighs? Out of the huts of history's shame, I rise. Up from a past that's rooted in pain, I rise. I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, welling and swelling, I bear in the tide, leaving behind nights of terror and fear. I rise into a daybreak that's wondrously clear. I rise, bringing the gifts that my ancestors gave. I am the dream and the hope of the slave. I rise, I rise, I rise. Still I Rise is a poem by Maya Angelou, an African-American poet and writer. Most of her poems focus on the struggles of African-American women. Angelou experienced racial discrimination alongside the devastating experience of being raped at the age of 8. Therefore, She had to rebuild her self-confidence and regain her strength. After her experiences and struggles as an African American woman, she decided to pursue a career in literature to speak on behalf of the weak and the silenced, according to biography.com. The poem Still I Rise is divided into 8 stanzas and 43 lines. The poem is about discrimination against races and how a person should always get up when put down and rise no matter what. Angelo is particularly referring to African Americans who struggled under slavery for so many years. She also emphasizes on being proud of your own culture and heritage. The speaker is addressing the poem to the people who were constantly aiming to put her down, for them to realize that no matter what they do, their actions will have no effect on her, and she will always rise. Alongside that, she states a few questions that prove to the reader that she is a strong and confident woman. Like, does my sassiness upset you? In line 5. Angelo uses many examples of simile, such as like dust in line 4, just like moons and suns in line 9, and a really stirring metaphor when she writes I'm a black ocean, leaping and wide, line 33, conveying a strong sense of pride and power. Personification is in this inspiring poem in You May Shoot Me With Your Words throughout lines 21 to 24. When she likens hurtful words to gunshots, she also includes an allusion in lines 29 to 30 to the huts of history's shame, which subtly reminds readers of how slaves were treated. The poem's theme is a message to gain self-confidence and stay strong. Despite that, there will be many who will try to put you down. Always remember to rise above it all. Be proud of who you are and where you originally come from. And now I read to you in honor of Still I Rise by Dania Kay. You may write me down in newspapers and view me on TV. With your bitter, twisted lies, you may step on my dignity. But still, like the sun, I'll rise. Does my hijab upset you? Why are you all full of fear? 'Cause I know God is real and watching every day, all year. Like owls and like eagles, like craving confidence and compromise, with great faith, hope, and power, still I'll rise. Did you want to see me scarfless, bare hair and exposed skin? Arms out, legs revealed, somewhat naked, no contentment from within? Does my language, inflections, accent annoy you? Don't you take it too seriously, 'cause I laugh when you think God does not understand. You may whisper, terrorist, to all your friends. You may look at me as if I hide murder behind my eyes. You may attack me on the street, but still, like a champion, I'll rise. Does the Quran in my hand irritate you? Does it come as a surprise that I've got the most holy book right in my hands? Out of faithless turmoil, I rise. Up from a present that's full of blame, I rise. I'm a Muslim ocean, soft and kind. Patiently and faithfully I am bearing the tide. Leaving behind nights of accusations and charge, I rise. Into a daybreak that's not so clear, I rise. Bringing the gifts that the Prophet, peace be upon him, has taught me. I am the dream and the hope of a Muslim. I rise. I rise. I rise. My creative response was a mimic of Still I Rise by Maya Angelou that was made up of 43 lines and 8 stanzas. My poem speaks about discrimination towards Muslims particularly. I mimicked the same theme of Maya Angelou's poem but with a different subtopic, Islamophobia, which relates to my chosen theme, inner fear. Seeing that Maya Angelou emphasized on the use of similes, metaphors, and repetition of I rise, I decided to also include it in my poem. For instance, like owls and eagles in line 9, and still like a champion in line 24, are both similes that I included in my poem. Since the phrase still I rise was such a main aspect of the poem, I embedded it in my mimicked poem, as well as including a metaphor, I'm a Muslim ocean, soft and kind, in line 33. Both my theme and Angelo's deliver the same message. You should gain self confidence and stay strong because there will be many people that will try to put you down. However, always remember to rise above it all and, most importantly, be proud of who you are. Thank you all for listening and stay tuned.